I got a question for you. What is the single most overlooked common modern freight car in N-scale today? Is it reefers? Coil cars? Cement hoppers? Maybe even spine cars? While all those and more may be true depending on who you ask, there is one type of common freight car today that, until recently, has been in extremely high demand but very low supply. And that car is the NSC 73-foot Centerbeam Flatcar. Hello everyone and welcome to the long-awaited review of the NSC 73-foot Centerbeam Flatcar from Rapido. NSC Centerbeams have been noticeably absent from the N-scale market for years. It used to be that Red Caboose made pretty good ones, even in different styles like opera windows and several different crossbeam styles. But they were bought by Fox Valley Models back around early 2015, and since then, Centerbeams have not been made in N-scale by any manufacturer. For the longest time, your best bet for getting a 73-foot Centerbeam was to get a 3D printer and to make one yourself. After all that time, the Red Caboose Centerbeams left in circulation started being sold for wild prices on eBay and other secondhand stores, with the price tag being justified in that it's a rare item. Well, Rapido, in an announcement last year, put a stop to those eBay gougers with their first run of NSC 73-foot Centerbeam flat cars. Like most N-scalers, I placed a pre-order on these Centerbeams faster than you can blink, and now that they have arrived and I am home for at least a little while, I feel it appropriate to provide you with a review of these cars. One of the most overlooked yet common loads carried by North American railroads is finished wood products. This is why we are proud to announce the HO and N-scale NSC 73-foot Centerbeam flat car. Over 20,000 examples of this car were produced by National Steel Car between 1987 through the mid-2000s, with some car variations along the way. Wherever you see general merchandise freight pass by you, there's a high probability that you will see at least 4 or more Centerbeams mixed in. But have you taken notice of the ownership of these cars? Centerbeams are unique in that they are owned by Class 1 railroads, leasing companies, and smaller short lines. The wood industry is that lucrative, and our HO and N-scale 73-foot NSC Centerbeams is no stranger to a wide variety of road names. The Rapido Trains N-scale NSC 73-foot Centerbeam flat car features 2 top truss configurations, early Z pattern and standard close pattern with tie-down brackets, 2 deck configurations, early with risers and mid without risers, 2 underbody configurations, multiple brake stand options, multiple truck types, fully detailed underbodies with brake piping and rigging, free-rolling metal wheels, multiple end cage variants, and body-mounted couplers. With an MSRP of $45 for the singles and $270 for the 6-packs, these cars are on the pricier side, but the detail speaks for itself. And of course, many retailers sell them at reduced prices, such as Lombard Hobbies, who still has several singles and 6-packs in stock for $36 and $215 respectively. I personally got mine from a small store in my local area called PnP Trains. As of this video's release, they still have a decent selection of singles and 6-packs available to purchase for $40 and $230 respectively. If you are a supporter of a small business, I recommend giving some love to the nice folk at PnP Trains. I will post links to their website, eBay, and Facebook pages in the description below. With all that being said, let's take a look at the cars I have in front of me and see if they live up to their hype. The cases for these cars are about as expected, with your standard hard shell jewel case and plastic form-fitting shells to protect the car from movement while inside the case. The cars are also packed with a soft plastic wrap for further protection. In typical Rapido fashion, the 6-packs are wrapped in transparent plastic around a cardboard information card with the item barcode and a brief product description printed in English on one side and French on the other side. Underneath the plastic shell are 2 things. One is a slip of paper with the product description, warranty information, and support information, again printed in both English on one side and French on the other. The other thing is a detailed parts diagram that displays an exploded view of the car and all the parts that goes into it. So if you get one that is missing parts, or if any parts break during its time on your layout, the idea is for you to be able to go to the Rapido site and order the individual parts as needed. The centerbeams in this run were made in the following roads: Canadian National, Mississippi Delta Railroad, now the Knoxville and Holston River Railroad, British Columbia Railroad, or BC Rail, Northwestern Oklahoma Railroad, or NOKL, TTX, BNSF, and the one not included in this purchase was Canadian Pacific. One quick top-down glance at these cars and you can already see the different roof patterns they used, with the early Z style being on the CN and MSDR cars, and the mid-era solid roofs with the tie-down brackets being on the TTX, BNSF, British Columbia, and NOKL centerbeams. The CP centerbeam also features a solid roof. In addition to the roof designs, you can see that the decks are also different depending on the car. BNSF and NOKL centerbeams feature the mid-era deck configuration without risers, while the rest, including Canadian Pacific, features an early deck with the risers. Here, you can see that even the stenciling isn't cookie cutter. There are tiny, almost unnoticeable differences in the print on the ends of these cars. Even something as easy to overlook as the brake lines on the bottom of the car is impeccably detailed, with not just one, but two different configurations of brake lines. Here's a few more details worth pointing out. First, as Rapido advertised, the trucks have metal wheels installed, as well as body-mounted couplers, as opposed to the truck-mounted couplers from the days of red caboose centerbeams. You can even see that the brake detail goes so far as to add a brake hose to the end of the car as well. Surely you can see how no expense was spared in the production of these cars. With all the visuals out of the way, let's take a look at how well these cars roll. Here, I'll be both pushing and pulling these cars by hand with varying levels of force. One thing I will note is that I tried using a few of the centerbeam loads that I've been using for my red caboose centerbeams, and I don't know if I'm just too worried I'll break something, but the loads do seem to be a tight fit, and I find myself needing to kind of force them in place. While it is true that centerbeam loads should be snug, I don't want the load to push too hard against the centerbeam walls, so a word of possible caution there. Well, that's all I have to say about these Centerbeam Flatcars from Rapido. My roster of centerbeams had been suffering for a while before these came out. So not only is it nice to see more centerbeams in the market, but these centerbeams are very well detailed and they roll really smooth. The biggest takeaway I have is that I hope, with how fast these flew off the shelves in stores everywhere, that Rapido intends on doing further runs, maybe even with more roads and new configurations. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions for what I should review next, put it in the comments below. I mainly collect stuff from the modern era, so any modern locomotive and railcar has a good chance to be featured in a review on this channel. With all that being said, take care and see you in the next video.